I hope that the audio is clear and the video is also clear. I would wait for a minute so that the students can join. So, a very warm good evening to all the students. Uh, First of all, I would like to tell you that because of some unavoidable reasons, we were not able to conduct the DAW, and now we will resume our DAW sessions. So there are some 2-3 things which I'm telling you. We have done the DAW sessions. So far, we have covered 7 questions. And I think that the last question that we did was on Saturday. We were not doing the live sessions on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All these 4 sessions of DAW, we will record these sessions. We will record the brainstorming and the discussion for these sessions. And then we will add these sessions to the playlist of the DAW. If you will go to the Sunya IAS channel, on this channel you will find a playlist. The name of the playlist is DAW, Daily Answer Writing. There we will upload all these 4 questions which were there, question number 8, 9, 10 and 11. Okay? And we will resume our DAW sessions. Today we are resuming it back. Let's see that if there are any other comments. Bulbul is saying good evening. Good evening, Bulbul. Good evening, Kashish. Bulbul is also saying that she missed these lectures. We will resume these lectures, Bulbul. Pankaj is saying welcome back. Thank you, Pankaj. Okay. So, if there are any other specific doubts, so for those students who are new to the DAW, we are a free program on YouTube where we are doing the brainstorming and the discussion for mains answer writing. In the November month, we were doing questions for GS2. In the December month, we are doing questions for GS3. Okay. I know that prelims is approaching and all of you must be anxious for the prelims exam. But it is very, very critical that you keep your preparation for mains intact. You keep some part of your day at least till January, February, and those who have given mains earlier, they would know that it is very important to keep their mains preparation on even till March. Okay? So it is very, very important to keep your mains preparation intact. Do not get prelims frenzy. Do not dedicate all the 24 hours of your day to the prelims. Keep your mains preparation intact. Keep your brains working in terms of the mains brainstorming also. And that is our goal when it comes to these kind of answer writing sessions. So let's now, without any further ado, let's look at the questions for today's session. A very interesting question we are looking at. Discuss the significance, and we have to discuss it. Okay? Discuss the significance of Indian Railways setting a target to become net zero carbon emitter by 2030. So we have to discuss that what is the significance of this. Then we have to tell that how do these initiatives, they align with the global efforts to mitigate climate change through sustainable transportation. So the question is actually fusion of 2 of the topics in your syllabus. What are those 2 topics? The topics are infrastructure is a very important topic in GS3. Within that, railways, ports, highways, airport, inland waterways, these are very important topics when it comes to the infrastructure. Okay. Now we are making a fusion of two questions. What is the other topic? The other topic is Green India or renewable energy. So we have made a fusion of these two topics, and then we are seeing that how you are able to present the information in the most sophisticated manner. रट के नहीं लिख पाएंगे आंसर आप, है ना? You will have to innovate, and you also have to tell meanwhile some of the government schemes in which we are working towards making the railways green. Okay, that is the core demand of the question. Now let's move towards seeing that how we can form the subparts in this answer. So what is the first thing that we always do? We introduce the question, we introduce the topic with the context. We will see what kind of context can be given. Then the first part will be, and we also have to realize that the question is a 10 marker. So we have only 2 pages to present all of the information. Rightly so, we should form 2 parts. But even if there is any third subpart, it should be very, very small and peripheral. Main आपके 2 ही parts होंगे, right? So the first part would be significance of net zero carbon emission. Significance of Indian Railways setting net zero carbon emission, ये हमारा first sub part होगा. In this part, we will also tell that what are the efforts being taken by the Indian Railways. Why? Because we have to discuss, and then we have to tell its impact also. Then the question is asking that how does this align with the global effort which is in place when it comes to sustainable transportation. So how is this aligning? How will this measure help in reducing the kind of emissions which are happening because of logistics when it comes to the global efforts that are happening? So we have to tell about the global efforts also when it comes to green, sustainable transportation. And then we will make a conclusion. Now, those students who are part of the sessions for some time now, we have been conducting it for more than a month or almost 2 months. We always talk about challenges, but we are not doing that. Why? See, it is a 10 marker question, and whenever there will be a 10 marker, you will definitely have a very crunch of space. अगर आप यहाँ पे challenges लिख देंगे तो उसको फिर way forward भी लिखना पड़ेगा, है ना? So we would not do that and we will directly hit the bullseye. ठीक है, इधर उधर नहीं घूमेंगे हम क्वेश्चन के टारगेट से. Now let's see that how we can introduce the question. So question is that how there is need to make sustainable transportation, है ना, climate change, and how railways is moving towards that direction. So how we can introduce? You can directly introduce with sustainable developmental goals. Sustainable development goals talks about that how we need to provide transport and infrastructure, but that has to be green. Okay, पहला तो आप यही कर सकते हैं. दूसरा, you can tell that how government is working towards Panchamrit. What is Panchamrit? Panchamrit is a 5-pronged policy presented by the Prime Minister of India, right? where he's talking about that how we will become net zero carbon emissions by 2070, how we will reduce our carbon intensity, how we will reduce our carbon emissions, which were projected for 2030 by 1 billion carbon ton, right? So these kind of contextual information can also be given, because if India is going towards making the railways net zero carbon emission, then that is happening because of the larger policy goals. Okay. Then you can also tell that how under the nationally determined contributions, NDCs, how under the nationally determined contributions, India is making strides towards achieving green India, है ना? Which under the part of which India is moving towards making the railways green. Okay. So these are some of the introductions which you can give. And now we will see that what kind of introductions have been made by the student. I have taken up some of the introductions. Let's see this one. By means of green initiative. Example, electrification of railways. Indian Railways has set a target to become net zero carbon emitter. It is part of the NDCs to reduce carbon emissions by 33% by 2030. अब यहां पे बस एक ही फैक्चुअल इंफॉर्मेशन है कि कार्बन एमिशन इंटेंसिटी को रिड्यूस करना है. So you have to be specific. You have to be specific. For example, if you are quoting some of the Panchamrit data, Panchamrit are the goals which are set by Prime Minister when it comes to Green India. In these kind of sectors, you have to be specific. तो यहां पे कार्बन इंटेंसिटी आएगा, कार्बन एमिशन इंटेंसिटी आएगा. ओके, अदरवाइज दिस इज अ गुड इंट्रोडक्शन. Now we will come to the part. Now after the introduction, we will start this part that what is the significance. If there is any suggestion, those who are regularly attending the sessions like Pankaj and Bulbul, Kashish, if there are any other suggestions what we can give in introduction, you can talk about that. Okay? You can even talk about national logistics policy. Under the national logistics policy, government has said that meanwhile they are trying to reduce the cost of transportation from 13 to 14% of the GDP to 7 to 8%. They are also trying to make it carbon neutral, or they are also trying to reduce the carbon emissions that are coming from the railways. Okay, you can also include this national logistics policy. Kashish is telling about emission gap report 2023. Kashish, if you are giving about the emission gap report, you will also have to tell that what is the kind of gap. अगर वो data आपको याद है इंडिया के perspective में, तो आप emission gap report भी कर सकते हैं. Okay. Now since Pankaj is saying something, since it is a 10-marker question, intro needs to be crisp. Absolutely, intro should be crisp. That is definitely there, है ना? So in my opinion, the best way would be to use Panchamrit. The best way would be to use Panchamrit or to use even the SDGs. Okay. Environmental Performance Index. RK, in what way will you try to use this in the introduction? That can come in the significance. So now let's move towards the body, where we will address that what is the significance of net zero carbon emissions. What is the significance? Here you can first tell that what are the kind of different actions that the government is taking when it comes to making railways green. Okay, what are the kind of exact actions which the government is taking? Usme we will tell that how first we are moving towards electrification. We are trying to reduce the role of diesel engines and we are trying to go for electrification of railways. Then even when where we are using diesel engines, we are trying to do blending. We are trying to do blending of ethanol, blending of biofuels. So that is also there. We are trying to use the biofuels when it comes to railways. Then what we are doing is that suppose there are certain kind of electrical equipments which are being used. Because do not just imagine that energy efficiency has to do with the engines and the train only. There are a lot of electricity consumed through the different kind of appliances like the coolers, like the ACs, like the lights and everything. So we are also trying to introduce energy efficiency. How? Suppose that if there are different kind of lights that are there in the trains, that there are different kind of lights which have to be used at the railway stations. So we are trying to go LED. We are trying to go LED. This shows that we are also focusing to ensure that there is energy efficiency. Okay. Then government has a lot of land. So railways, you must know that railways occupy a very big share of land when it comes to the land percentage which is there with different departments of the government of India. Now what the railways is trying to do is, they are saying that on this land, we will try to create carbon sinks. We will try to create carbon sinks. How? What is the meaning of carbon sink? When a land is barren, then there is no kind of carbon which is being consumed by that land. Okay. But when we will go for afforestation, then that specific land will become a carbon sink. Okay. So how they are going for afforestation? To enhance the carbon sink that is there, and in this way they are going for mitigation. They are going for mitigation. Then what is the other use of this land? That you install solar energy plants. You install solar energy plants. You can even install wind energy plants if the location allows. And then you can use that energy in your railways operations. Okay. What is the example for it? When it comes to the airports, Kochi Airport, this was even a question that came in the prelims. Kochi Airport is the green airport. It is net zero carbon emission airport. Okay. How? That they are trying to achieve a systematic panel. They are trying to achieve a systematic program through which no kind of net emissions are happening. Emissions will happen. But they are doing afforestation. They have formed carbon sinks. They are trying to procure green energy. Okay. So they are utilizing the land to ensure solar energy capacity, wind energy capacity, and also enhance the carbon sink through afforestation. Then through which ways further Indian Railways is trying to become net carbon neutral? What is the other way? The other way is that they also have to procure energy. Now in this procurement of energy, they are trying to reduce the amount of energy, the amount of electricity which they get from sources like coal and thermal energy plants, and they are trying to enhance the portion of the green energy. The other kind of government program which Indian Railways adapting is PAT, perform, achieve and transform. है ना, perform, achieve and transform. This is another program through which government is saying that our goal is to enhance and make the Indian Railways more green. Okay, so let me just check if there is any kind of initiative that is left. One very important keyword is head-on generation technology. Head-on generation technology. This is called HOG. Okay. So through this HOG, they are also making engines more efficient. Then we know that how they are shifting from diesel to electricity. So these are all the different ways through which they are going for making Indian Railways as net zero carbon emissions. Let's see the comments now. Can we write the significance in the tone of why we need net zero carbon in railways? पंकज, as such वो मतलब थोड़ा सा भटक जाएंगे हम क्वेश्चन से, है ना, क्योंकि क्वेश्चन का कॉन्टेक्स्ट है डिस्कस द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ इंडियन रेलवे सेटिंग अ टारगेट टू बिकम अ नेट जीरो कार्बन एमिटर. तो वो मैं आपका डाउट समझ रहा हूं कि सिग्निफिकेंस तो हमें ये बताना पड़ेगा कि रेलवेज का भी थोड़ा हमें इंपॉर्टेंस बताना है. सो द राइट वे वुड बी that while you are telling this, you also tell the significance in the sense that how railways form a larger chunk of transportation. So how, when it comes to the transportation mix of India, we do not have a very mature or developed inland water transportation. We do not have highway connectivity to all the areas, but railways is that part of the transportation sector which is very deeply integrated to almost all the cities. So how when railways will go green, then that will also have the impact on the deepest part of the countries, right? If we have to discuss the significance of railways setting a target, तो significance में again we always look for larger impact, है ना? So अपने को significance में वही सोचना है कि कैसे इसका लार्जर इंपैक्ट क्या होगा. Kashish is asking that what is head-on generation technology. See, head-on generation technology means that ultimately if there is a coach, है ना, so how energy systems for that coach will be made efficient. How ultimately overhead equipments will be given, है ना, and ultimately the goal is to make, अगर हम इसमें बहुत डीप में जाएंगे फिर वो तो पूरा मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग ही बन जाएगा, but head on generation technology means that ultimately it will not be like that we are transporting, we are making energy in the some other part and then we are transporting and giving that energy. For every coach one of the decentralized model will be there that will ensure energy efficiency फॉर द ट्रेन्स, है ना. कोचेज बेसिकली जो कोच होगा, आप जस्ट एग्जाम्पल लिखिएगा, एनहांस्ड एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी इन द कोचेज ऑफ द ट्रेन, जस्ट दैट इज इनफ. सो these are the different points when it comes to significance of Indian Railways setting a target to become a net zero carbon emission by 2030, that how the logistics sectors overall will become more green, है ना, how when railway stations will go green even in the deepest areas, that will also set up a new culture. Solar panel at train roof. Bulbul, solar panel at train roof, I don't think if government of India is going for this. I will have to check on this. And this cannot be even sustainable, because solar panels are usually very expensive. They need a lot of maintenance. And generally trains are moving at a fast pace. So I don't think it is sustainable, but we will have to check on it. So this is the significance. Now we will move to the second part, that how it is aligning. How it is aligning with global efforts. एक बार पहले कॉपी भी देख लेते हैं. We also have the best copy. Let's see how they have written. So what they have done is that rather than just listing down what are the efforts, they have just shared the significance in different realm. My suggestion is that whenever there is a question on this line that they are asking you some of the major initiative of the government, like net carbon emission zero kar raha hai railways, it is very important that you keep mentioning some of the points from there. Example ke taur par. We will see how. So environmental sustainability, installation of solar rooftop plus wind energy. This is good. Carbon footprint reduction, use of renewable energy. One thing that is good in this copy is anyone, Pankaj is telling solar panel or roof is not feasible because the resistance of wind. Yes, Pankaj, that is what I was saying. But Bulbul was prescribing a suggestion. So that is why I shared the same opinion that I do not think that that will be feasible. What government is saying is that if railways is a very big entity, do not think of railways as just rail tracks and some railway stations. They also have a lot of land assets, and those land assets are usually not productive. They are not being used. So the government is saying that if you have a land, use it for wind or solar panels, okay, through energy creation through wind or solar. So one thing that is good in this copy is, all of you must note that the points are really crisp. Candidate is not really describing the points. They are just dropping the points. And that is the goal. I got a copy for this question in which almost like 4 or 5 pages were written. See, you will only get 2 pages for 10 markers and your points should be crisp. And how to make it crisp, that is why we are showing these copies. So example is there, but इन्होंने लिखा नहीं है that this is example. Global climate actions, Paris Agreement COP28 UAE climate action cannot wait theme. Now, थोड़ा सा जनरल लग रहा है, थोड़ा सा जनरल लग रहा है. Why? Because significance बताना है ना यार. We have to tell that how logistics is one of the most important sector when it comes to the carbon emissions. तो वो चीज मिसिंग है. Technological advancement, blockchain, cloud, edge computing, IoT sensors help energy intensive system become more energy efficient. This is very good. So the candidate has shared that how through these kind of systems, how through data analytics, we can make our railways more efficient through the use of sensors. है ना? क्या एग्जाम्पल दीजिए आप? आपने जब IoT सेंसर का एग्जाम्पल दिया है, you can tell the example of street lamps. That how through the IoT sensors, whenever there will be daylight, the lights will not be used. है ना? एक एग्जाम्पल लिख दीजिए बस. Economic impact, use of variable frequency drive plus energy efficient meters. Long term cost saving plus efficiency. This is also okay. Renewable energy integration plus green initiative. Bio toilets, solar plants used in vacant railway land. Very good point. Very good point. Public health plus well-being, ensured improved air quality. नेट जीरो कार्बन एमिशन में कार्बन की बात होगी यार, एयर क्वालिटी का उतना इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट नहीं होगा. ग्रीन जॉब्स प्लस सोशल इंपैक्ट, रिसाइकलिंग सेक्टर, एनवायरमेंटल साइंटिस्ट एटसेट्रा. दिस इज गुड. This is very good that how green jobs will be created. Okay. Resilience to climate change plus community centric approach. How replacement of trucks with electrified tracks. Eastern dedicated freight corridor. This is also good. So overall, see, whenever you will write 10 points on any subpart, obviously some 2-3 points will be general. है ना? How we have to just ensure that the most relevant points should be there in the top 5 points. So what points were missing in this copy? That how logistics overall is a very carbon intensive sector, and how through the railways that will change. है ना? That point could have been improved. Now we will come to एक बार नेक्स्ट कॉपी भी देख लेते हैं। तो इन्होंने वो पॉइंट लिखा था, इंडियाज ट्रांसपोर्ट सेक्टर कंट्रीब्यूट्स टू 12% ऑफ ग्रीन हाउस गैस एमिशन, with railways accounting for about 4% of these emissions. So I found this to be a very good introduction. If you can put this as your introduction, it will make a really good introduction. Data आप note कर सकते हैं ये। Then इन्होंने measures भी share करे हैं। Let's see the measures. How NDC target 33% emission reduction, dedicated freight corridors being set up, increasing the share of renewable energy in the energy mix, non-fossil fuel electricity increased by 40% by 2030. Perform, achieve and transform scheme to be implemented in railway sector, electrification of all railway tracks, solar power to meet its electricity grids, 2.5 megawatt solar project in Dilwana, Haryana, tree plantation to increase carbon sink and improve water efficiency. But there is one thing that is missing in all this is that significance वाले aspect में connect नहीं किया. Just telling these points is not enough. We also have to connect the kind of change it will bring. How, what is its impact on society? What is its impact on the overall energy mix? है ना, वो significance वाला impact थोड़ा mix है, थोड़ा missing है. Now we will see that how it is aligning with the global efforts to make sustainable transportation. So ultimately question is not just that what railways is doing. We can also align the other global efforts to make the transportation sustainable and to mitigate climate change. So up when we are talking about sustainable transport, we have to also tell that how making railways is aligning overall with the global effort to make sustainable transportation. So firstly, we can show that what are the other areas in which we are trying to make transportation sustainable. The first one is that how we are trying to go for green shipping. How we are trying to go for green shipping. What is green shipping? That different kind of pollution which is happening, which is further leading to more heating of the ocean, that is not happening. So green shipping as a concept zarur padiyega. This also came in the part of the polar, in the shipping code. Prelims में आया था इस पर एक सवाल 2022 या 23 में आया था. So when it comes to the shipping sector, how there are global efforts being on to make it green, है ना? If someone remembers that question, do post it in the comment section. Then how we are trying to go for inland water transport. This is actually the most sustainable transport mechanism. इसमें सबसे कार्बन एमिशन सबसे कम है इधर inland water transport में. Then what are we doing for making the sustainable transportation? We are also going for rapid rail transport systems, RRTS. For example, we see that how the Delhi Metro is being connected. The Delhi Metro is being connected through rapid rail transport systems in the Noida, in the Gurgaon, even in the UP to further Meerut. है ना? So the ultimate goal is that we should go for last mile connectivity. Right? और क्या आप समझ पा रहे हैं, देख पा रहे हैं? एनी सजेशंस? कमेंट्स में सजेशंस आने चाहिए थोड़े और 2-3, तभी मजा आएगा सेशन का. और क्या ग्लोबल एफर्ट्स हो रहे हैं व्हेन इट कम्स टू मेकिंग द ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सस्टेनेबल? वी आर ट्राइंग टू गो फॉर ऑल्टरनेटिव एनर्जी. Alternative energy. What is the alternative energy source? We are trying to go for green hydrogen. We are trying to go for green hydrogen. This is the most efficient system because there is literally no carbon emission, right? Then we are trying to go for advanced chemistry cells. We are trying to go for lithium ion batteries. We are trying to go for the FAME scheme, right? Then obviously India has the goal for net zero carbon emissions by 2070. That is obviously there. SDG 11 transport, yes, perfect. So how through these kind of initiatives, whatever the railway is doing, that is aligning overall with the transportation sector. इसमें अगर आप चाहें तो आप ये भी बता सकते हैं that how airports also are trying to go green. How? For example, the Kochi airport, you can tell that, right? How there are different kind of mechanisms through which they are setting up the solar panel, the wind panel, airports की अगर बात करें हम, because transportation को as a overall देखना है अभी, है ना? So this is the brainstorm for that. Now let's see that what kind of presentation we have got in the copy. Global effort to mitigate climate change through sustainable transportation. Environmental aspect, incentivizing of electric vehicle, Norway, very good. International example दिया इन्होंने नॉर्वे का. Social aspect, promotion of cycling plus walking, Copenhagen, very, very good. So these kind of examples, they will really end up giving you +1 marks. Okay. Technological aspect, intelligent transportation system, smart city initiatives, Singapore, AI, India, Kerala. तो इन्होंने क्या बोला है? That how you can make your transportation system smart by using the technology. Example, smart city initiatives, Kerala and Singapore में AI. Economical aspect, high speed rail networks, China, European nations. Behavioral aspect, carpooling, ride sharing, Uber, very good. Global collaboration, Paris Agreement, NFC. Climate resilient infrastructure planning, example Tokyo. Overall very innovative examples. Overall very innovative examples. These kind of examples are what are needed to make your answer green. Not green in terms of energy, but you know, making some innovation. तो बहुत scope है. Because question is essentially very open-ended. If you will see that how question is saying that how it is aligning with the global efforts. So global efforts में either you can talk about the initiatives that are happening within India in the transport sector, or you can also talk about the global level, है ना? So हमने वो सब भी बता दिए. Now we will move towards conclusion. Conclusion में आपको क्या करना है? Very good suggestion came from we don't have technology. Bulbul is saying we don't have technology for green hydrogen. But that's why we are going for national hydrogen mission, na? Government of India has introduced national hydrogen mission, national green hydrogen mission, through which we are trying to introduce this technology. How we are trying to do it? That we have lot of capacity generation potential when it comes to the solar energy. And we do not have different kind of infrastructure that is needed to store that energy. Let me help you imagine it, that if we have this piece of land, okay, and we are trying to set up different solar plants here. Now what is the issue with the solar energy capacity is that we cannot just connect it with the supply lines, because we have to do the grid management also. There is a concept called that you have to do the grid management. You cannot just directly supply it to the electricity lines. So there are two kind of ways to utilize the solar potential. The first one is battery energy storage system, or you have to go for converting this kind of electrical energy into hydrogen. How? That you split the water, you split the H2O, the water, by doing the process of electrolysis. So you use the electricity which is produced by solar energy, you use it for electrolysis, you convert it in, you do the splitting of water into hydrogen and oxygen, and then you store that hydrogen for energy purposes. है ना? So ultimately, what will come in the conclusion now? Conclusion may be, if we have used SDGs in the introduction, then we can use Panchamrit at the end, है ना? But ultimately, अगर हमें कुछ innovative करना है, कुछ थोड़ा unique करना है, तो क्या कर सकते हैं इस क्वेश्चन में हम? That how we are moving towards an era where energy diplomacy will be very important. So you can link it with international affairs, है ना? Because we are talking about that how global efforts are there. So who are the leaders when it comes to this? The leaders are Norway, the Norwegian countries. Then other leaders are countries like Israel, who are working on battery energy storage systems, advanced battery energy storage systems, advanced chemistry cells, battery energy storage systems. Then how there is also need that India through its International Solar Alliance, through its Green Grids initiative, India connect its needs for green energy for railways through the International Solar Alliance, through the Green Grids initiative, so that India has access to the green energy. So थोड़ा innovative अगर सोचेंगे तो innovative हो भी पाएगा, है ना? We just have to link it through different ways. Then how if we have to make transportation overall efficient, then government has national logistics policy. But there is one more important thing, that overall under the national logistics policy, they are also talking about multimodal connectivity. That if you do not have multimodal connectivity, then it is of no use if you have green railways, if you have net zero carbon emissions. The goal is not just to have net zero carbon emissions for the railways. The goal is to have overall reduced carbon emissions by the transportation sector. For that, we need multimodal connectivity. And for that, India is setting up multimodal logistics park. Okay. So on these lines, you can form an innovative conclusion for the question. Okay, you can also conclude, if you do not use Panchamrit in the introduction, you can use it in the conclusion also. Let's see कि इन्होंने क्या conclusion करा है. Indian Railways commitment towards net zero carbon emission 2030 can contribute towards effort to mitigate the impact of climate change on global level. So though introduction is decent, though conclusion is decent, but there is always scope to make it better. अभी कुछ innovative सा नहीं है. Conclusion should always end with a very innovative line. Try to think on a larger picture that what is happening. Just imagine that you are concluding that how Indian Railways can utilize India's International Solar Alliance to procure more green energy. है ना? So try to give a very wide picture, try to give a very unique picture in the conclusion. Think out of the box. यहाँ वाला point में कुछ आप unique नहीं दे रहे ना. यहाँ पे इन्होंने बहुत unique दे दिए, which is good. But even the conclusion should have some aspects of those kind of qualities of the answer. So that is it for today's session. We have resumed our DAW sessions, And now we will regularly come and conduct these DAW sessions so that the students can benefit when it comes to their mains answer writing. If there are any other specific doubts, you can ask them in the comments section and we will try to address them. Okay. If you like this discussion, you can also leave a like on this video, and you can also make a comment regarding your reviews. We will appreciate that because that will encourage us to improve this program. And that's it for today's session. Thank you so much for watching it, and we will meet tomorrow. Okay, goodbye and take care.